Thank you. So I said that the first time I came here, I wanted just to talk about and to make it, let's say, audible to everyone. Like there are a lot of linguistic diversities in Algeria. First of all, there are a lot of people who do not even know where Algeria is, and they do not know what are the different languages that are spoken there. And there is another fact that when someone, a foreigner, comes to Algeria, they are going to be astonished. Like they think that Algeria is an Arabic country or an Arabic speaking country, but once they come to the country itself, they're going to face a lot of realities, a lot of things, and a diversity, like a panorama of languages that is spoken there. So, um, here is Algeria for the people who do not know where it is. It is situated in North Africa, surrounded by the Mediterranean the Mediterranean Sea, Morocco and Tunisia, which are the most, let's say, important and influencing countries or places. We usually mention that because, for example, from the Mediterranean Sea, Algeria has been so much affected by the different let's say, colonizations from France, Spain, and Italy, and even the Ottomans. And then we have also the influence of Morocco and Tunisia, because if you go to the borders of Algeria, you're going to find like people in the borders with Morocco, they speak like Moroccan people, and in the borders of Tunisia, they speak like Tunisians. So why exactly this, and what is really happening into Algeria? Now, before we answer this, you can see that, let's say, geographically speaking, Algeria is now the classified as the first largest country in Africa and the 10th largest nation in the world. All right, so Algeria has been a place that has welcomed a lot of, let's say, lot of changes and through a lot of colonizations. But among those colonizations and those periods who have marked Algeria are the pre-Islamic era that is marked by the existence of Berber people. And once we talk about Berber, there is actually no study that stipulates that have been other people inhabiting Algeria and even Northern Africa before the Berber. So this is why Berber people are said to be the natives or the ancestors of this place of the Northern Africa, starting from Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. The second period is that of the mid 7th and 11th centuries, where it is or it was, let's say, marked by the spread of Islam. And once we say Islam as a religion, it has come directly with the Arabic language. So the natives of Algeria have been speakers of Berber, and then right after the coming of the Ottomans and the spread of Islam, it has become an Arabic speaking nation, and people started to opt for Arabic and speakers of Arabic. And then certainly what is really marking the language of Algeria is the existence of French. And up to now, like we have been independent for 60 years now, I believe, or even more, like 65 years. Algeria has been independent, but are we really independent, linguistically speaking? If you go to Algeria, you are going to find like, if not 90% of the population, let's say, are all speakers of French. And no exact sentence can be produced purely in Arabic or more or less Algerian Arabic, but rather it is influenced by French. And the phenomenon of code switching from Arabic to French is just overwhelming the performance of Algerians and how they speak, how the language is performed there. So the 19th century, I stipulate or I say are that from the 19th century up to date, the French language has been like not only spread, but it has been immersed into the linguistic performance of Algerian people. It is also necessary to point that there have been other, let's say, other invasions and other colonizations between brackets that have come to Algeria. Among them are the Turkish, and we can find some Turkish words here and there in the dialects spoken in Algeria. We can also find some Spanish words here and there are also spoken in Algeria. But these two languages are not so prominent as is the French language. Like French is becoming part of the language. There are even people who are, as if between brackets, they are natives of French because they speak French in their houses with their kids as if it is their mother tongue and not even a second language or a foreign language as it is stated in the let's say political texts or in legislations. So in here there is a map that talks about the popular density of Algeria, where people are much more focused and where do they live exactly. So we can see that the majority of the population exists in the north. However, in let's say the south or the deserts, there is the population is getting less and less, and it is let's say very limited because of certainly the weather and also because of the social and economic factors that are in there. And this is why when it comes to language studies or the studies of the performances, how people are talking in one area rather than the other, we're going to find that research talks more about the northern part, but the southern part of the country is a bit neglected. So I was saying that in Algeria, if we want to talk about the linguistic situation in Algeria in general, we have got three main basic axes, but it's not only that, but we have also other varieties or diversities. The first thing is Standard Arabic. It is said to be the national language and the official language of the country. But along or aside Standard Arabic, we have Algerian Arabic, which is, let's say, a variety of Arabic, but which is completely different than Arabic. That is the way in which it is structured, the way in which it is spoken, the way in which it is influenced by other languages. It is not the same. The second thing is the standard Tamazight or Amazigh or Berber is also another the nation's national language. It has become, it's very recent, like it has reached the to be, let's say, the status of a national language, and it has recognized as its let's say status in the nation after certain, let's say, movements which we are going to talk about later on. And along standard Berber, we have got varieties of Berber and the different dialects of Berber that are spoken in different parts of Algeria. And no Berber variety looks like another Berber variety, which makes them probably different languages. And the third language that is spoken in Algeria is French, along with other foreign languages, as we have stated. Now, about the Arabic language that is spoken in Nigeria, like Arabic is a symbol of Algeria's identity, and it is related certainly to the religion, and also it has been recognized by the constitution as the national and the official language. And there is one thing to refer to when or to clarify more about Arabic, that we have got two distinct forms of Arabic, one which is called in the literature as classical Arabic, Now, classical Arabic, I believe that no one is speaking classical Arabic except poets. Like once they deal with this literary form, the prestigious one, the deepest one, yes, they deal with that. They speak this or they write it because it is very, very difficult and it is complex in the words that are used, in the terminology, the vocabulary that is in there. So classical Arabic is more or less like a very prestigious one, but at the same time an archival one that no one touches that. And for example, me personally, I am a literate person. I speak Arabic, I understand Arabic, but when it comes to classical Arabic, it's a bit difficult, if not too difficult to understand some words. And if in order to understand, for example, a poem that is written in classical Arabic, I have to go to the dictionary in order to find the meaning of each single word, how it is, what's the meaning, so that to understand the meaning of the language that is there. I can read it, but I cannot understand it because the language is so sophisticated there. And as opposed to this, or a moderate version of this classical Arabic, is modern standard Arabic. So modern standard Arabic is what we work with, for example, in institutions or for education, in writing manuals, textbooks, and so on. So it is the language that is, let's say, taken by or used by all the people, for example, even by the government in order to write correspondences in the television, media, and so on and so forth. And certainly it is found in books, newspapers, magazines, as it is stipulated here. But the problem is that this modern standard Arabic is not the mother tongue of anyone. Like no one is born speaking standard Arabic. And if anyone speaks standard Arabic in, let's say, at home or outside, he's going to be ridiculed or even laughed at. Like, how come you're speaking standard Arabic? It should be either spoken in school or in a certain environment, but not, for example, at home or with friends. I can narrate an anecdote. I got a cousin of mine. He's very little, and he was so much, let's say, attracted to TV. And the TV, the cartoon that is presented there, the media, everything that is there is projected in standard Arabic. So he spent a lot of time watching that. So directly he has acquired the language that is spoken on TV and not the language that is spoken with his family or the family environment. So he, at the age, I think, of 3 or 4, he started speaking standard Arabic with his family members, like with the standard form, like, for example, for standing, he say aqifu instead of nuqaf. That that was like very funny at, but so that his parents started to make him understand that, or to teach him that no, this is used only at school but not here at home, and at home this is what we use rather than that. So this was one of the stories that has happened that is in front of us. Like someone can acquire what is shown on TV, but this is not the reality. And this modern standard Arabic is not the native tongue of anyone. So our native language is Algerian Arabic. This Algerian Arabic is a variety of Arabic. Here are some examples that are provided from Arabic. In the first column, that's standard Arabic, and in the second column, these are from Algerian Arabic or the dialect itself. Now, Arabic that is a layman variety or a daily variety is different from MSA phonologically, morphologically, at the level of the lexicon and syntactically. Like, how come that we are saying that Algerian Arabic is a variety of Arabic, and once we are speaking Arabic, it has nothing to do with that. The examples that are at the level of phonology, some vowels, if not the majority of vowels. An example, a very famous one, I believe you have been across that. An example like kataba, meaning to write, is in standard Arabic, like it has vowels, so it's kataba, a. But in Algerian Arabic, there is no no vowels. That is, vowels are absent and everything is going to be stick to one another. It's like tib. So it's kutb, linked all together, no existence of vowels. It's the same thing that happening with a lot of verbs in that. For example, fahima, it's a, but when it comes to Algerian Arabic, it's fahm. So there is like they are linked and no vowels are existing there. As the morphology or morphologically speaking, we take the second example. We've got here the dual form, talking about two girls. So the dual form in, let's say, the standard form starts with the noun plus the dual form, like bint, referring to girl, and ani, referring to two. But when it comes to Algerian Arabic, we start with the dual form, and then there comes the noun that is after, or we start by the number and then the noun, which is something that makes standard Arabic not, or Algerian Arabic not the same like standard Arabic. At the level of the lexicon, lexis is the affected a lot by the other languages that have been crossing Algeria a long time. Like we can find for one object, two or three lexical items, one that is Arabic, the other one that is Berber, another one that is Turkish, and so on and so forth. And the labeling of this object is going to be different from one country or from one place to another, from one region to another. Like in the region where I live, we can call something like in a way, but in a different region, they call it in a different way. So here, the lexicon of Algerian Arabic is, let's say, at a certain extent, so different from that of standard Arabic. And also at the level of syntax, that is sentence structure. Sentence structure is also, let's say, in Algerian Arabic, it's much more, let's say, shrinked rather than in modern standard Arabic, where all the items of the sentence are clearly structured and obvious. But syntactically speaking, or when it comes to Algerian Arabic, we have different syntactic structures that are themselves distinct from one place to another, from one region to another, which is something that is very, let's say, interesting to study about Algerian dialects. Now, in here, there is a recent study that was done on the diversity of Algerian dialects, and it stipulates that Algerian dialects present, of course, a complex linguistic feature. With regard to that, that if anyone among you wants to talk or do some research about the socio-linguistic situation in Algeria, you're going to find that in every single paper, I bet, that the very first sentence about that states that the linguistic situation in Algeria is a complex one. And yeah, it is something that all scholars and researchers in linguistics or the dialects that are spoken in Algeria, they agree upon the fact that the socio-linguistic situation in Algeria is very complex. Why? Because we have, let's say, not only different languages, but also different dialects, and those dialects that are distinct from one region to another, and the let's say the attitudes that are associated to each dialect are distinct from one person to another, from one region to another, and even from one context to another. So because of the Arabization process, that has led to the appropriation of Arabic by the population of course, in here after the Arabization or there are different, let's say, labelings or written forms of this process. That is the fact of opting for Arabic as the language of the nation. There was also another, let's say, movement of opting for Berber as a national language within the country. But we will talk about Berber in the coming slides. In here, we are interested in the classification of dialects of Algerian Arabic. So we've got the pre-Hilali dialects. These are the dialects that are mainly urban dialects, that is the dialects that are sedentary of quality, or the dialects of the cities, and Bedouin dialects that are mainly also called as the Hilali dialects. They come afterwards, and they are Bedouin in their nature. We'll see where each of these dialects is spoken. So firstly, the pre-Hilali dialect is called also a sedentary one because it is spoken in cities or in urban areas. And it is spoken in areas that are affected by the expansion of Islam in the 7th century. And among those cities is the city of Tlemcen, the city where I live, and Constantine, which is, if we return back to the map, so Constantine, it's like from in the borders of in here, like with the borders of Tunisia. It's more or less distinct. I don't know if you can check it here. And also, so these are urban varieties, and also in some rural surroundings of those areas. And also we have the sedentary dialects are spoken also in the Mediterranean area, in the Mediterranean area, that is northern Algeria. Also that is known in, let's say, in Algiers and bigger cities, and also in the central town of Nadroma. So Nadroma is a place that is related or close to Tlemcen, and the dialect that is spoken there is a sedentary one, but it is different from that of Tlemcen. Like, I'm going to show you the map later on, and you're going to see that Nadroma and Tlemcen are so close geographically speaking. They do not speak the same way. They have some peculiarities, but they are still, let's say, regional or sedentary dialects. And we also have the dialects of Shirshal, Dillis, Jijel, and Laqal. And as opposed to this, we have the Bedouin dialects that are very, let's say, they are distinct in their production. Now, the sedentary one is a refined dialect. It's a refined way of speaking. It is like very nice, very soft, and you feel like the person is speaking in a soft manner, and it is much more, let's say, characterized with the pronunciation of the glottal stop. So the glottal stop characterizes the sedentary dialects, and the qaf. I don't know, this sound does not exist in Italian, but we have this variant in Algerian Arabic. As opposed to this, in Bedouin dialects, they are characterized by the production or the pronunciation of the g sound. So g is attached or associated with Bedouin dialects or rural dialects that are spoken in different areas of Algeria. The first area, as you can see in the first point, is in the surrounding of Constantine and Souf. And the second area is also in the borders of Tlemcen. So now, if you can see that we have mentioned Tlemcen as a sedentary area, or they are speakers of sedentary dialect, but at the same time, in the surrounding of the region of Tlemcen, there are people speaking Bedouin dialects and rural dialects. So from one place to another, you are going to find that there is a bigger diversity. And this Bedouin dialect is spoken also in the area which is called as the Oranese area. In Oran, Sidi Bel Abbas and Saida. And the third one, these are mainly the surroundings of Tlemcen. And there is the other area is the central Algeria and the Sahara. Although the Sahara or the desert is also known by other Berber varieties such as the Tuareg or Tashlhit, which we are going to explore later. And the fourth one is the one that is related to Borj Barerir Stif Alma. And there are as if the central points are sedentary and the surrounding areas or villages are the rural areas. Now, the coexistence of those two varieties, like the standard form and dialectal form, end up by having the diglossic situation in Algeria. Now, for diglossia, Algeria can be diglossic, but it can also be triglossic because we have a lot of languages. Now, diglossia stipulates that for each situation, we have a language that serves that situation. That is, for example, if I am at school, I have to be using standard Arabic, and this is the variety that suits this context. And for another context, which is, for example, among friends, I can use Algerian Arabic or a mixture of Algerian and French. So if I use this in another context and I mix the languages in different contexts, it is not going to be working. It's not like functioning. And this is what diglossia stipulates. But the problem is that we are not only in a diglossic situation where one language is used for formal situations like a higher variety and another one is a lower variety used for informal context, but rather we have got a lot of languages such as the existence of Berber, the existence of French, and the existence of other varieties. Like, for example, now we're moving towards an Englishization between brackets of the system, and everything is moving towards the use of the English language in Algeria. So in here, are we still in diglossia? Certainly not. Are we still in triglossia? Of course not. Like, the thing is moving beyond it being only a diglossic situation or triglossic situation. Now, when it comes to Berber, for Berber, it is in the literature known as different languages or in different names. Like, we can find it as Amaziria or Tamazirt or Berber, but I think most commonly it is used as a Berber or Tamazirt. So in the map that is in front of us, that's before we deal with the geography, there is the flag there. This flag is opted by or used by Berber people to refer to their own identity. That is, they construct their own community. It refers to them as a separate unit, as an independent unit of the Berber speaking community. And as you can see in the mapping here, we have percentages of the Berber population that is speaking Berber along northern Africa. So we can see that the biggest proportion is both in Morocco and in Algeria. So Morocco in the first place by 26%, and in Algeria by 15%, and lesser percentages are found in Tunisia, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Libya, and Egypt, with, let's say, more or less between 0.4 or 0.2 up to 4%, like, or 9%. It's more or less a very limited let's say proportion. But when it comes to their percentage in Morocco and Algeria, they are very highly, let's say, they are numerous. So and here I return back to the point that I have stated earlier, that there is neither something in physical anthropology nor in prehistoric archaeology that is a specific research that could prove until now the presence of something pre-Berber existence or a pre-Berber linguistic sediment. So they stated that Berber has been the first language and is considered as the indigenous language of North Africa. And now, as the second one, or the second illustration, it is taken from the UNESCO's language vitality and endangerment framework, and they have studied the situation of Amazigh languages in North Africa, and they have tried to make some kind of consensus with regard to the state of Berber languages in Northern Africa. So the biggest percentage stipulates that those Berber languages are on a critical situation by the a percentage of 28%, and others, like 25%, stipulate that Berber languages that are spoken in Northern Africa are seriously in danger. So this is something that can be, let's say, confirmed, because first, Berber languages are so limited, and in here there is a map of the Berber languages where they are exactly spoken in Algeria. So you can see that they are minorities, like spoken in, for example, Batna, who are said to be Shawi, and in Tizi Ouzou, they are said to be the Kabyle. The same Kabyle is spoken in some parts of the center or the capital, Algeria, or more or less nearer cities like Bouira, and in very small area in Tlemcen, that is in the borders with Morocco. We are still in the north. It's in here. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, it's in here. So this one is the region of Benisnous. It's known as also Kabyle of Benisnous, and other parts in the desert, which is either known as Mzabi or Tuareg or Tashlhit. Like they have different names, and for each variety there is a group of people, and this group of people, for example, the Tuareg, they have their own, let's say, lifestyle, their own dressing, their own they have their community on itself. Like, for example, people Shawiya also, or Shawi people in Batna, which is a variety of Berber, they also have their own, let's say, their own way of dressing, their own food, their own constructions, and so on. The same thing for example, the Berber people in Kabylie or in Tizi Ouzou, and I think Bjaya as well. So these are also very, let's say, prominent as a group or an indigenous group or a community where they are very well known with their traditions. They are different from other traditions. For example, the traditions that are in Tlemcen practiced in here are in Tlemcen, the sedentary Arabic speaking, and those that are spoken or done in Tizi Ouzou, the Berber one, are not the same. The way of dressing is not the same. Even the cuisine is not the same. And also the language cannot be an exception. So this was the story about Berber languages. The thing is that for Berber languages are not so, well, let's say, very documented in Algeria. Not a lot of people talk about them. That is, very few talk about the existence of Berber languages. And I stipulate that they are, or it is an urgent need for scholars to deal with the Berber languages that are spoken in Algeria, not only in northern places like, for example, these, because in the north, more or less they are, let's say, touched or dealt with. But when it comes to the desert, they are still more or less not. They can be mentioned. They are mentioned as languages. They are mentioned as varieties. But for example, to have real statistics about the people speaking them, whether there are, let's say, new generations still opting for this variety, or they are opting for Algerian Arabic or French, we do not know. So more research is required about that. Now, for the dialect and stereotyping, you can see that within the same, let's say, the same country, we've got a lot of languages, and within those languages we have a lot of varieties, and each part of, like, I return back to the same map. Like, for if you take someone from this point and another one from that point, like, they are not very far from each other. I believe like 1 hour and a half by car from Tlemcen to Oran, but you are going to find that the way in which people in this area speak and people in that area speak is is different. And the difference that we have, the more we move, that we call dialect continuum, that is, the more we move, the more differences are going to get bigger. And because we have those differences, we are going to have also stereotyping. So each community or each place or each region is stereotyped by a way of speaking. Like, for example, when it comes to my city, the place in which I live in Tlemcen, we have different ways of speaking. So if a boy speaks, for example, using the glottal stop, a male speaker speaks using the glottal stop, he is going to be laughed at because the glottal stop is said to be feminine, and it is associated with femininity, and therefore they are going, or this glottal stop, this only, it is a phoneme, but it is going to be, like, let's say, avoided by male speakers, so that to show more or less their masculinity, and it is only used in restricted contexts where they are within, let's say, family members or people of the same linguistic background. Male speakers can use still the glottal stop without any problem or shame. Now, if, for example, someone is coming from here, from, let's say, the Aghwat, let's say, or Jilfa, or let's say the central Algeria, they are going to more or less switch to the dialect of Algiers, which is the capital. So they are not going to keep their variety, but rather they tend to switch to a, let's say, more prestigious variety, or what we can call as a coiny or a common regional variety, which is understood and appreciated by everyone. Now, because we have different dialects, we have also different stereotyping. In here, I'm sharing with you the results of a research that I have made 2 years ago. And it is related to the different stereotyping of dialects and how people perceive, let's say, other people or speakers of different varieties. The map that is in front of us is a map of only one place, one region, which is Tlemcen. And in this province, or in this department, we have, let's say, each region is, let's say, very prominent by a certain way of speaking. So the task was, I have given empty maps to my informants, and I have made them listen to some clips. And those clips include the same exact sentence said in 4 different dialects. The first dialect is the one that is portrayed in this place, which is the dialect of Nadroma, and mainly characterized with the q sound. And the second one is characterized with the glottal stop, which is the one of, or characterizing, the sedentary dialect. And the last one is a rural variety that is almost spoken by the surrounding of the city. What was really, let's say, astonishing is that the very first remark or answer of all the respondents was correct. That is, they did not find any hesitation in placing where the speaker is coming from. Like, for example, if they hear the glottal stop, they are going to mark it directly on the place where it is the sedentary area, Tlemcen city, and not other cities or other surroundings, which was something that is very, even if my informants were university students, that a university student coming from different regions. So I made them listen to the clips again and again, and they have noticed and remarked that each region is stereotyped by a particular thing, and there was no exact, that is, no one among all the people interviewed or asked that have found it either difficult or more or less not even a hesitation to place where the dialect is spoken. So once we asked them to deal with, let's say, rating those dialects, certainly they went into, let's say, a more or less common answer, with regard to the attractiveness, so the sedentary form is more attractive. It refers to an urban dialect and it is superior than others. So in here, stereotyping goes directly to something that is like, we know we stereotype each of the varieties, but we tend to evaluate, that is, people tend to evaluate each variety on the manner in which it is spoken and where it is spoken, by whom it is spoken. So we can find that we have, let's say, different evaluations. Certainly, like the urban dialect is said to be more attractive, referring to urbanity, and more superior than the other varieties, which is something that was very, let's say, very interesting and very attractive for the results that we tend to, even if we are, let's say, stereotyping each region, but we are still evaluating and knowing, as if we are scaling the dialects, as if we are creating a kind of a scale, or there is a ladder where we classify the dialects that are spoken. So within this ladder, we have the very basic ones that are very negatively seen. For example, the dialects that are spoken in the desert, the dialects that are spoken in some Bedouin or rural areas, the dialects that are, even when it comes to varieties, the varieties that are spoken in rural areas or in villages or in the mountains, they are said to be in the bottom of the ladder, rather than other varieties which are spoken either in cities or in urban areas, which are on the bottom of the ladder. And this stereotyping, or this differences between dialects, is creating some sort of regionalism. Now, we talk about regionalism a lot in Algeria, but regionalism, in my definition, or in the research I'm handling, does not refer to the political concept that one region coming against another region in order to find, but rather each region is known by its, let's say, its vocabulary, its dialect, its linguistic richness. So it considers itself better than the other community. So if, for example, you go to just one part of Algeria, these people are going to say that our dialect is better than the dialect that is spoken in the center, for example. And the center people living in the, for example, in Algiers, which is the capital city of Algeria, they are going to state that our dialect is the most prestigious and it is the most beautiful and superior. And because each region is known by its dialect, its variety, it is going to create some kind of tension between, and negative evaluations between each region. So the question was like, are we really, or do we really need to have those attitudes towards or against all the varieties that we have in Algeria, even if we are speaking different dialects of Arabic and not even the one that is a standard one or a common one? As opposed to all those varieties, there is the French language. Now, French is another story. It's a whole story that is going to make the story of regionalism fall into water. Like it's not, it cannot be even taken into consideration when the French language is present there. Now, by the way, I'm not defending the French language, but rather it is a socio-linguistic reality in Algeria. Even if we find some kind of paradoxical opinions in Algeria when it comes to the French language. That is, they say that the majority of people, if not all of them, they state that French is the language of the colonial and language of colonialism, and we should not be speaking the French language. But once it comes to speaking the language, you're going to find that all people speak the French language, and they consider it the language of the educated, the language of, let's say, which is superior, highly prestigious, and highly appreciated. So in this case, there is this paradox, this conflict of ideas, something that is overtly said, like overtly we say that French is the language of the colonial, and it should not be spoken. And Arabic is the language of the religion, and we have to speak Arabic, and we are proud of being Arabic, and so on and so forth. So this is what is overtly said as said over prestige. But when it comes to reality, if someone starts speaking French, he or she is going to be more appreciated than someone speaking Arabic. And in here lies the question, like, when it comes to regionalism, it is true that each area is going to be stating that my dialect is better than the other area. But when it comes to the French language, that no dialect is going to be existing or competing with the French language, because French is said to be a very, let's say, prestigious one. It is the language of the educated, and language of science, language of schooling. And I can share some information about the French language, that it is used, I mean, at university, we have some streams that use French 100% in their teaching and learning, but there is no space for Arabic in there, even if like pupils or the same students have been educated and instructed in Arabic from the age of 6 till the age of 15, like from primary school up to the secondary school. Our education is all in standard Arabic, plus learning certainly French and English as foreign languages. But when it comes to university, there are two divergent items, like two divergent streams. When it comes to social sciences and humanities, they are taught in standard Arabic. For example, Islamic studies or history or psychology, they are studied in standard Arabic, except languages, of course, French, English, Spanish, and Italian, they are studied in these languages. And the second stream is that of hard sciences. For example, mathematics, sciences, technology, ICTs, and communication, all what is related to computing and stuff is all in French. Why is this division? We do not know. But the problem is that the teachers in scientific streams or hard sciences are all educated in French. And therefore, once they are teaching, they tend to teach in French, and they opt for the French language. And if you check the copybook or the notebook of all students, you're going to find that their notes are in French and not in Arabic. So the situation is a bit more complicated and complex when it comes to the existence of the French language. Now, here there is a very beautiful quote that I liked, and I use very often in my speeches about the French language. It states that French has become an elitist language. That is, it is the language of the elite, a language of the educated proportion of the population, and it is the symbol of social success, and remains an omniminute in the field of banking, economy, and opening up to the universal. Certainly, it is used in all the, let's say, administrative domains or economic domains and so on. But it remains the language of the colonizer. We have this in our country. We have this in the community, in the perception of the community. And it remains like something that is paradoxical and bidirectional. We have the French language as language of colonizer, but we appreciate people speaking the French language. Why is that? We do not know. And along this, we have also the existence of the English language. Now, English has become something that is something that is new in Algeria. It is the fashion between brackets in Algeria, and in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, English has become something that is compulsory in the Algerian education, and we are receiving as university teachers or instructors a lot of correspondences to change our way of teaching and dealing with, let's say, scientific research and activities, to deal with it in English rather than French. So can you imagine like someone who has been educated and learning all his field of research and doing a lot of activities all in French and at let's say between some time is asked to switch to the English language. It is something that is very difficult, but still, the Algerian University is trying to opt for that. And the new reforms have started from primary school. And in primary school, English has been inserted as another foreign language in addition to French. Like French plus English altogether, in addition to standard Arabic taught in primary schools. And then there remains some space between the primary school and secondary school, and then we get university studies all in English, stating that we have to cope with the international, let's say, movements and scientific research and deal with the English language. Okay, whether this is going to be succeeding or not, we do not know. But the problem is if we are working for the omission of the French language from the Algerian community and Algerian scientific domains more precisely. And we are encouraging opting for the English language. Now, are we moving from being blindly colonized to the French language to be blindly again following or colonized to the English language? We do not know, but still, we are trying to take it from an optimistic viewpoint, which stipulates that English is the language of science and English is an international language. So we're trying to cope with the globe, and we're trying to still deal with, let's say, the novelty of the technological and scientific community around the world. So this is all what I have to say about the Algerian sociolinguistic situation, a complex one, isn't it? A lot of details, a lot of parameters, which require a lot of research. And this is why we are still keeping, like, if you go to stipulate or to deal with the sociolinguistic situation in Algeria, you're going to find a lot of sociolinguists, but each dealing with a different parameter, not following the same path, not following the same, let's say, direction, not following the same approach, but rather some people are dealing with dialectological studies, as I do. Others deal with language policies, like language policy in education and the languages that are obtained there in designs of textbooks and so on. Others are dealing with Berber dialects and Berber languages and diversities, and so on and so forth. So in this case, if anyone is interested in digging into the complexity of languages in Algeria, you are welcomed, and I will be your assistant in collecting the data. No problem with that. I will be translating the stuff. No problem with that. But the analysis is going to remain yours in order to see an outsider's viewpoint on the situation. So this is all I have to say. Thank you so much for your attention. And in case you have any inquiries, you are welcome to discuss the point.